The topic for today is the Rhodes Chroma by Cherry Audio. Cherry Audio, they're kind of like, I think of them as alchemists, but instead of turning lead into gold, they turn unobtainium into obtainium. It's a valuable service indeed. Here's the bit of show and tell for this episode. If you were owner of the hardware version of the Chroma, what you likely did was to take the parameter chart that was a fold-out from the back of the owner's manual. They would take this to Kinko's and print it out and get it laminated. I didn't get it laminated because it's just for show and tell. And fortunately, I don't need this because Cherry Audio vastly improved upon it. But take a look at how insane the original user interface was. Not to say that it doesn't remain a very, very complicated synthesizer.
This is a very complicated case, Mod. You know, a lot of ins, a lot of outs, a lot of what have yous, and a lot of strands to keep in my head, man. You know.
The Chroma is at its most simple, and it's never really simple, but at its most simple, it's a bitimbral polyphonic synthesizer. And that puts it in the same league as the CS80, which also could produce two completely different sounds at once. But then when you add the expander to it, then you've got four complete different sounds available at any time. And you can, they've made it quite easy to split the keyboard. So you could put one sound on the left-hand side and the other on the right. Or you just stack them up. The possibilities of this thing are quite deep. And it's still very analog sounding because at its heart, it is an analog synthesizer, but it's completely under software control. And I think this might be the first instance of a hardware synthesizer's user interface being made easier with a software rendition, with a virtual instrument, because the Chroma was practically, I mean, it was at its heart, it was a computer. It had a microprocessor. At its heart, it had an 8186 microprocessor that not only controlled the whole thing and made up the operating system, but it provided all the LFOs and the envelope generators and the means by which that you could rearrange the architecture of the whole synthesizer 15 different ways that makes it incredibly versatile. Yet the heart of it is very much analog, and it has that characteristic ARP sound. But I remember the Rhodes Chroma. I had a brief encounter with it in the wild, probably 1982. And just for a minute, I popped into Guitar Center for something, and there it was. I had been hearing about this thing for since 1979 because it was developed by ARP. It was the last synthesizer that they designed. And it's only a miracle that it ever came to light, because what happened is, in the meantime, ARP went Chapter 11. They went bankrupt and ceased to be. But they had been developing the Chroma for, like I said, since 1979. And one guy was not willing to let it let the project die, and that was Philip Dodds.
Audio analysis personnel behind the double yellow line.
Who took time out from being a movie star, and instead of communicating with aliens and Steven Spielberg, he made a deal with CBS, talked them into taking on the Chroma and rebranding it as the Rhodes Chroma. With all of this, they lost time, and it's kind of a shame because, at least for me personally, my polyphonic synthesizer dance card was full because I had the Yamaha CS80, and I also had access to a Prophet 5 anytime I wanted. I really liked the way the Chroma looked and felt. It was big, solid, beefy thing. You know, it was 70 pounds and all that wood. I liked the color scheme. I didn't really investigate it thoroughly. I wish I had looked further into it. But now, all these years later, the last few days, I've been fooling around with this highly accurate recreation of it that Cherry Audio has done. It's a really unique synthesizer. This was more like a polyphonic ARP 2600 in that it was very modular. Under software, you could rearrange the architecture 15 different ways that if you were patching it, you would lose your mind. It would take forever. The different ways that it could be configured are mind-boggling. And the sounds that it produces give it a certain je ne sais quoi that a lot of people refer to as it having a character all its own. And I agree with that assessment completely. One thing Cherry Audio did was to improve greatly the user interface, which was dreadful, but it quickly became like the norm to have a single data slider and then hit a bunch of buttons. I mean, if raise your hand if you learned how to program a DX7 just using that data slider and the plus minus buttons and hitting, you know, I'm not sure. Some people speculate that the design of the DX7 was influenced by the Chroma because it had the same membrane switches on the front panel and a single data slider. But that became kind of the norm in the business for a while. Korg and Sonic, a bunch of manufacturers just said, you know, we'll just do like this. Made the instrument extremely hard to program. Just a difficult slog at best, tedious. I've worked out how to program the DX7 when it came out, and I'll, you know, pin a gold star on my forehead for that. I mean, that's like it'd be a synth nerd merit badge. What it was, I mean, if you look at the front panel of the original Chroma, it had buttons that were numbered 1 through 50, and then it had a little text up above that. But basically, you had the two modes. The 1 through 50 were the ways to call up the presets. It could carry 50 presets in memory at a time. You load in more through a cassette interface. Then you go into programming mode. Those 50 buttons controlled what parameter you were editing with that single data slider. But to remember what it was, each one of those buttons might have up to 16 different functions. And in the back of the manual was a fold-out 11 by 17, and a lot of the owners would take that thing and have it copied and laminated, so they'd have it at all times beside their side because it was just too much to memorize. And Cherry Audio completely overhauled that, but still, because it's a complicated synthesizer, it remains complex. So you can see right here, you want this. You want the owner's manual, which is very thorough and it's very good. So you don't have to have an 11 by 17 card laminated, but you will want to read the manual on this one because it's a complicated machine. It's not difficult. And it also comes with, several hundred presets, which I haven't even begun to finish exploring yet. But it's very cool, and we shouldn't shy away from things that are complicated, because we thought we're synth, if we're a synth nerd, you want complicated. The more things that it can do, the better, right? Otherwise, what, you're going to get the Casio where you push a button and it plays Tie a Yellow Ribbon or Bad Bad Leroy Brown. No, we are synthesizer nerds. We don't do that. We want complicated. Anyway, it's an extraordinary synthesizer, and Cherry Audio is to be congratulated. And to think that you can get this thing, you can still get them. You can find them used. Good luck if something goes wrong with one of those membrane switches. I guess you have to replace the whole front panel. The power supply problems are horrendous. So I mean, you can get the original thing if you want to. I don't know why you would. Because it's funny, I think we have a first here, that this is a software synthesizer that is easier to use than the hardware equivalent. Because the hardware was a large beast, but it was essentially a computer. So, everything, it had analog filters and analog oscillators and analog amplifiers, but everything else was completely digital and under control of the microprocessor that was built into it. The envelope generators were completely digital and kind of weird, because there's no sustain level. There's just ADR. And if you want sustain, you have to set the decay all the way up. But you can have fairly long decay times that simulate having a sort of sustain. I'm still getting used to the envelope generators. The other thing, the one thing that I wish that Cherry Audio had done is that the original Chroma had an option for polyphonic aftertouch that you could install after the fact or whatever. And I'm hoping that Cherry Audio will let us install it after the fact with an upgrade of this, because I can't imagine why they didn't implement it on this, because it would be marvelous. They've got a last note aftertouch thing that you can kind of simulate polyphonic aftertouch, but why simulate when you can do the real thing if you've got a controller that outputs it, as I do. The possibilities are amazing. That you look at those 15 different ways you can turn this thing inside out and upside down. It's really incredible. And then plus the fact that it includes the expander. So I mean, you've got two of these things. It's kind of analogous to what they did with the GX80 when they combined the Dream Machine with the CS80. I mean, it's a massive thing. You've got capability of 32 oscillators. Boom, you know, and everything can be modulated by everything else, and it's just insane the capabilities that it has. And plus, it has a sound quality that is very ARP. I love the filters, but the fact that you can also turn those inside out, run them in series, parallel, get bandpass, notch, you know, everything you want. It's really a cool synthesizer, and we should all be grateful to Philip Dodds for not just throwing in the towel when ARP went belly up, because this is a fine legacy for what was a wonderful company that made beautiful products. And I can't understand how things like that happen, but they do. I mean, that's just business. It's just, you know, they come and they go. They have hard times. Look at Moog over the years. Has been owned by different entities, and it's not easy. But in Spanish, they say, in Cuba, they say, no es fácil, pero tampoco difícil. It's not easy, but it's not hard. As always, please subscribe if you haven't. If you have, thanks. And use the comments. Give it a like. Give it a share. Do your part. Doesn't cost anything. And I'll see you the next time. Okay? Sayonara.